Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I am Tom.
We're going to talk about one of our favorite things. There are a lot of people like TV, and that's the history of the television and how it's changed throughout time. It's really made some improvements. It's changed so much that I think people who actually invented the TV would be shocked to see what we use today.
It's still around. I don't think a lot of people actually sit in front of the television set as much as they used to. Most people are playing on their phones most of the time, or they watch their Korean dramas on their phones. But still, you can watch lots of television programs on a regular TV set, and they are on sale in various big markets, at Jalafu and Haoshidou and places like that.
Yeah.
You can buy big TVs there. So evidently, TV is still very popular. And we're going to be talking about the big change in television regarding its digital revolution. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's read the entire contents of our lesson now one time.
Television is one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, bringing countless stories from around the globe into innumerable homes. It continuously airs a variety of programs day and night, offering captivating content for people to choose from. And its existence has revolutionized the way people obtain information and entertainment. The first television was a mechanical one, created in 1925 by John Logie Baird, a Scottish engineer. This primitive machine utilized a rotating metal disc to capture images. And although the picture quality was only coarse with low resolution, it marked the dawn of a new age in visual communication. A year later, Baird showcased this breakthrough at a London department store where his basic television set became the prototype for the television system. Meanwhile, a young American inventor named Philo Farnsworth was conducting a revolutionary experiment. In 1927, he demonstrated his invention that employed electron beams to scan images, signaling the transition from mechanical to electronic television. Farnsworth's new television improved the clarity and stability of the picture, and from then on, television sets entered ordinary households, embarking on their journey as mass media. It wasn't until the 1950s that the emergence of color television propelled television technology forward once more. This type of television integrated 3 colors of phosphors in the cathode ray tube, presenting viewers with an unprecedented richness of color. Although early color television sets were expensive and not affordable for every household, they gradually became more widespread over time, bringing a more vibrant visual feast to the world. With each innovation, television continued to enhance how stories were told and experienced, becoming an indispensable part of daily life and defining visual culture for generations.
Okay, everybody, it's time for us to discuss the contents of our lesson for today. We're talking about TV's digital revolution. A revolution, of course, is a big change. And in this regard, we have a digital revolution. TV is now digital, and it's no longer analog, if you know the difference.
And I'm not going to explain that, so look that up. Analog is A-N-A-L-O-G. I'm not a scientist. That's not my kind of cup of tea there, the thing that I really use time reading about or looking into. But I do find the history of the television interesting. Just as a side note, I don't own a TV. I don't watch TV. And I can't imagine trying to watch TV shows on your phone. It's so tiny. Maybe people watch more of the Korean dramas on pads, iPads, or, at least tablets. At least it's a little bigger. I guess if you're young, it doesn't matter, but wow, that's too small for me.
It's still really nice to have a big TV at home and to be able to watch a movie or something like that. It can be quite an interesting experience. And you can eat popcorn at the same time and talk to your friends and family members.
That's fun.
But television is one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, bringing countless stories from around the globe into innumerable homes. Okay, so it was a big revolution in the 20th century. You have to imagine at the beginning of the 1900s, they did not have TV and they did not have radio. They got their information by reading books or from word of mouth or by reading newspapers. And then radio came along and then TV. And these, of course, were things that came about in the 20th century, the 1900s. And they are inventions, which are things that people made to improve people's lives. People didn't have them before. TV is an invention, the light bulb, radio, etc., etc.
Yeah, so when that was invented, it changed life for countless people from around the globe and brought television into innumerable homes. In the same sentence, we have two words that are synonyms. They have the same definition, really. Countless and innumerable. So you can use those interchangeably. Countless just means, so many, I can't even count. Innumerable has the same definition. So it's kind of cool that we've got two of these words in the same sentence. It continuously airs, we're talking about the TV, it continuously airs a variety of programs day and night. When it first was invented, of course, there weren't programs that went past, I think, 10 p.m. I know when I was growing up, maybe by the time I was born, we had TV shows that would go to midnight. But we spent a lot of time where TV shows would end because they were broadcast live. They weren't recorded. They were live. And we didn't have people, staying up at 2 a.m. and watching television. They had to get up early and raise their cattle and grow their crops. They were farmers and we had busy lives. Things have changed. We now have cable. We have streaming TV. We've got a lot of different choices nowadays. So back then, or even today, let's talk about today right now, it continuously means without stopping. Airs a variety of programs. There's lots of choices these days. If you look at your cable selections, you can see how many choices you have. Offering captivating content. If something's captivating, it's very attractive to people. It catches their attention. It's entertaining to them. So it's captivating for people to watch these different programs. And its existence has revolutionized the way people obtain information and entertainment. As Tom says, at first, we didn't have TV news, which became quite a big thing, I would say about 30, 35 years ago. Nowadays, people are getting news from other sources like social media, and they're getting away from TV news, which is not getting many viewers these days, I must say. So our whole lives are kind of shifting. But that used to be the way that people got their news. And one of the ways they got entertainment, there's still different ways to get entertainment even now.
Absolutely. Well, here in the next paragraph it says, the first television was a mechanical one created in 1925 by John Logie Baird, a Scottish engineer. So this is kind of hard to imagine. It was a mechanical one, which means it had gears and springs and things like that. Maybe if you spend a lot of money to buy a Rolex watch or something, it's going to be a mechanical watch. But if you don't want to spend a lot of money on a watch, maybe you can get a digital watch or a quartz watch. Those are cheaper, but mechanical, of course, is very special because it's got the gears and the springs and things like that. And that was the first television. I'd like to see what that looked like. Maybe I should go on YouTube and see exactly what it looked like. But yeah, it was a mechanical TV that came out in 1925.
Kind of cool, huh? Yeah, I can't even imagine. I'm going to have to go online and see if I can see a picture of it. When I read mechanical, I went, what? Mechanical? That's kind of crazy. So this primitive machine, if something's primitive, it kind of goes way back in history. And it's something that was kind of the start of something. So it was primitive. It wasn't very developed. It wasn't very advanced. We often talk about primitive people who lived before they could really write or they had a system of communication like we do today. So this was a primitive machine, and it used or utilized a rotating metal disc to capture images. Kind of crazy. If something's rotating, it just goes around in a circle. It usually has something at its core like an axis. So, on your car, we've got tires. They rotate, right? But they have a center to them, and then they rotate around that center. So they use that metal disc to capture images. Now, the picture quality was not very good. It's being described here as coarse. Coarse here could be grainy. Think of flour that hasn't been milled very well. It's just really kind of nutty and grainy in your mouth. Well, the picture wasn't very clear, so you could call it very coarse. So it was a coarse picture. It had low resolution, not very good quality, of course, and it marked the dawn of a new age in visual communication. So this was a milestone, a turning point. We use both those phrases to talk about something that really speeds up the evolution of something, the progress of something.
Exactly. So, yeah, the initial technology was kind of crude. The picture quality was coarse. It had low resolution. Just like the early digital cameras that came out, they had low resolution. The image was coarse. There were lots of squares that you could see in the pictures, but later resolution improved. And, of course, we all know and love our phones now. They take great pictures. But in this particular case, back in 1925, it was revolutionary. It marked the dawn of a new age in visual communication. Things changed after that. And a year later, Baird showcased this breakthrough at a London department store where his basic television set became the prototype for the television system. So he's a Scot. He went down to London in England there and showcased or demonstrated his invention there. This is a breakthrough in television. He showed it at a department store there, and people saw this prototype, or kind of like the first model of this particular industry. This is a prototype for the TV system. Later on, of course, there were improvements, and now you would have to find his invention in a museum somewhere.
I hope someone kept it, or at least kept a copy of one of the first TV sets way back then. If you showcase, like Tom said, you could demonstrate it. It's displayed. So it was shown in a department store. I'm sure you had to have quite a bit of money to buy one back then. But that was his basic television set. And as Tom said, it became the prototype for the television system. I remember seeing the prototype, the first model of the Tesla truck, which was kind of wacky and futuristic looking. And I thought, I don't want that, but maybe it appeals to somebody. And it obviously has, because he keeps selling these Tesla trucks, which look like they come from, 200 years from now, and they belong in the future. So a prototype, again, if you're making a new product, before you begin marketing it and selling it, you're going to have 1 or 2 or 3 made up, which costs a lot of money because you're not marketing or selling or making them on a grand scale. But you have to have a prototype to see if it works. And then if it works, then you start mass manufacturing them, making them at a very large volume, but not when you're just starting out. You have to have a prototype.
Well, that's what was happening in the UK. And in just a second, we're going to cross the big pond over to North America and find out what the Americans were doing with TV. Right now, we're going to take a break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.Hello
everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是12月10号 Unit 6 Television's Digital Revolution Day 1。这个单元介绍的是电视机。对于很多听众来说，电视或许不再是不可或缺的家电产品。现在 3C 产品太发达了，很多人呢会用智慧型手机、电脑去取得自己需要的资讯和娱乐。不过在上个世纪末期，电视还是最主要的资讯娱乐媒介。第一天的课文内容介绍电视的发明人，还有电视科技在20世纪一路的演进。好，那我们一起看学习重点吧。请看到第1段的第2个句子。It continuously airs a variety of programs day and night. 好，这里当然指的就是电视 后面的动词是 is， 这里不是名词空气哦，这里是动词，就我们讲的播放。那电视呢会播放各式各样的节目。好，那再来呢，请同学看到的是 and 这个对等连接词后面所连接的子句 Its existence has revolutionized。 好，主要动词 revolutionize 这里是过去分词。好，它所讲的呢倒跟革命无关，我们应该把它理解为呢彻底的改变，带来呢翻天覆地的改变。再来，请同学呢看到第二段，这里就开始介绍了到底第一部电视机是谁发明的呢？原来是在1925年就发明了。那这个发明人呢就是 John Logie Baird。 好，那原来呢他是苏格兰的工程师。那我们来看第二个句子哦。第二个句子我们会发现最早的这一部电视机它怎么样呢？好，我们看的是副词子句 although 之后，虽然呢这部原始的电视机，最早这个电视机画质 picture quality 怎么样？相当的粗糙。 coarse 其实指的就是粗糙。那何以说它很粗糙呢？因为解析度很低 with low resolution。 It marked the dawn of a new age。 请同学特别注意的是 the dawn of a new age。 dawn 我们知道其实是黎明，那在这里呢当然跟一天时间的演进没有关系，这里所指的呢是新时代的开始。好，再来我们看到第二段第三个句子，那这个电视的发明人怎么样呢？ He showcased this breakthrough。 这当然是一个很大的科技的突破。好，那他就向世人展示嘛， showcase 这里当动词就是向外人向别人展示。那请同学看到后面的 breakthrough 这里是名词，那这个就是一个科技的突破。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everybody. Now, remember, we're talking about the history of television. We mentioned the first invention that we know about, which came out in 1925 by John Logie Baird, a Scot. And it was a mechanical kind of TV. It had those rotating discs, and then he demonstrated it or showcased it at a London department store, and that was the prototype for more TVs to come. Now, in the USA, meanwhile, at the same time, or around this time, a young American inventor named Philo Farnsworth was conducting a revolutionary experiment. Okay, so of course, if you're an inventor and you're trying to come up with some new ideas, you need to do some experiments. So he was conducting an experiment that was revolutionary. It had never been done before.
That's right. So in 1927, Philo, he demonstrated his invention that employed or used, you can use employ to mean use. He employed electron beams to scan images. This sounds more familiar to us these days with our current technology. And that signaled the transition from mechanical to electronic television. So he was actually using a different system to project or to broadcast these images to other people. So if you talk about a transition, just means you're changing from one state to another. Maybe you're transitioning in your career. You started out in marketing, but you want to transition to computer and computer coding and apps and things like that. I know some people who have gone from marketing into the new field. They can see that digital technology is going to be very important in the future, and they don't want to be left behind. So they've made that transition, that change from one state to another. Maybe you are going to transition your extra bedroom into a study or a den or a place for you to do some work at home after your kids grow up.
And of course, we have the transition from film photography to digital photography, which happened about 20 years ago or so. So again, this marked the transition from mechanical to electronic television because of Philo Farnsworth, and Farnsworth's new television improved the clarity and stability of the picture. So it was clearer, it wasn't as coarse, it was a finer image, and I guess before that the images on the TV screen were kind of jumpy maybe, they weren't very stable, so this improved the stability of the picture, it wasn't jumping around all over the place. And from then on, television sets entered ordinary households, embarking on their journey as mass media. Now, remember, if you have a TV, we often refer to it as a TV set, which is the actual appliance. And so you could just say your TV, but you could also say your TV set. And in this particular case, it started to become common with people. They could afford it, they bought it, and they watched programs at home instead of listening to the radio.
Right. You can go into a store, though, guys, and just say, hey, I want to buy a new TV. You don't have to say television set or TV set. You can just say, I want to buy a TV. I want to buy a television. And either one, people will understand. So, yeah, it was a very interesting time for this particular product or invention in our history around the world. I was going back and looking at some more people who are involved in the evolution of this technology. It's been fun. A lot of people contributed. You know, when you had scientists working in one part of the world, you could have another scientist in another part of the world seeing and kind of taking a look at somebody else across the pond, as Tom said. If you were in England or the UK, looking at what Americans were doing, looking at what people in Russia were doing or other parts of the world. It's kind of fun when scientists can combine their efforts and produce something that's even more amazing. And like we said, they were going from kind of a coarse, low-resolution picture on a TV to something that was really pretty clear and also very stable. And so those were things that were important to this evolutionary journey. And this was embarking on, you could say this whole journey was embarking on the journey to mass media. The television was being used as a form of mass media, a form of mass education, a form of mass brainwashing. I don't know. But we use our TVs to be told things by entertainment industry, by the government. It was being used to communicate different ideas and thoughts to people. If you embark on something, you start it. You might want to embark on a new career, embark on a journey of self-discovery, embark on a relationship with someone you just met.
Okay, now in the next paragraph it says, it wasn't until the 1950s, about 20, 30 years after that, that the emergence of color television propelled television technology forward once more. I remember when I was a kid, they used to show reruns of old TV shows that were in black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Like Leave It to Beaver and the Dick Van Dyke Show. Those are all in black and white. But you started to see color TV shows, and so that propelled or moved TV technology forward again. And this type of television integrated 3 colors of phosphors in the cathode ray tube, presenting viewers with an unprecedented richness of color. Now, I'm not really too familiar with how this technology works, but if you have color TV, you're going to have 3 colors. I think it's red, green, and blue. And you integrate them together, you use them together in the same place, and you're using these phosphors to show those colors, and you're using a cathode ray tube, or CRT for short, which the old computer monitors had long ago when we had those big computer monitors on our desks. You know, now we've got the flat screen things. It's hard to imagine that we actually had such big TVs and big computer monitors in the past. But again, those are cathode ray tubes. And yes, you could watch TV in color at that point.
If you integrate things together, you take separate things and you bring them together and you combine them. So that's what this word integrated means. So integrate as a verb just means, again, you take separate things and you combine them, you put them together, unite them. And that's what they did with the 3 colors. Oh, it was much more fun to watch TV after color was invented. So although early color television sets were expensive and not affordable for every household. They gradually became more widespread over time. Like any piece of technology, the longer it's around and the more factories or companies that are producing them, the lower the price becomes. That's what happened with these as well. And it brought color TV into the world as the price went lower and lower. And it also brought a more vibrant visual feast to the world. It was a lot of fun for families who would sit around their televisions at night or on the weekend, and that would be their form of family entertainment sometimes.
Yeah, I remember TV nights on Saturday nights with the family watching TV. Various shows were on TV. And with each innovation, with each new change in the technology, television continued to enhance how stories were told and experienced, becoming an indispensable part of daily life and defining visual culture for generations. So every generation of people can tell you all about what TV meant to them. In the early days, of course, in Taiwan, there were only 3 stations, CTS, CTV, and what was the other one? TTV, I think. And, of course, things have changed. We've got cable TV, and later we've got higher resolution sets, and we've got stereo sound and things like that. Yes, it always continues to progress. And, of course, we haven't even begun to talk about how we get our visual content from our phones. That's an entirely different area, but it is related.
Oh, it is. Let's talk about our vocabulary word here, generations. It is countable. So what's a generation? It's all the people born and living at about the same time, and you kind of put them together in a group, a collective group. So if you talk about generations, multiple generations here, it just means, wow, at least a couple hundred, years where you're talking about how things have changed over time. Things were different from my parents than they were from my grandparents. And my generation is different from my nieces and nephews who are now, grown up and starting to get married and having kids. Things are all different for each generation as time goes on. But that's the fun of life, isn't it?
It certainly is. So again, there's a lot more to talk about regarding TV, and we will continue to do so in our next program. So make sure you join us then. But before we say goodbye today, we'd like to hear from our Chinese teacher.
接着我们看到第3段，那刚刚讲到了第一代的电视机，不过很显然的，这个技术还可以再进一步的改进，所以在第3段的时候，我们看到有一位美国的发明家 Philo Farnsworth， 那他怎么样呢？他就 was conducting a revolutionary experiment， 他做了一项呢很重大的带来天翻地覆的改变的实验。那请同学要记住 conduct an experiment 这个词语搭配。那再来呢，我们看到第2个句子，进一步的去叙述他当时这位美国的发明家到底做了什么事情。好，那原来呢，他就进一步的去做了技术上面的突破，然后请同学看到 signaling the transition from mechanical to electronic television， 所以最刚开始的第一代是属于机械式的，后来呢就转型了，做了一些转化 transition from A to B， 那就从 A 变成到 B。 那这几年我们常常都在谈，为了要永续发展呢，我们要尽量避免使用石化这些化石燃料，所以我们要做能源转型。请同学特别注意到的是，能源转型不要说 energy transformation， 应该要说 energy transition， 那所用的字呢也是 transition 这个字。好， we need to transition from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources。 好，那再来呢，请同学看到第3个句子逗点之后的这个分词构句embarking on their journey as mass media。 好，那所以呢，电视机它其实呢就变成大家每个家庭都有的。那怎么样呢？既然每个家庭都有，它当然就会变成是大众媒体当中非常重要的一环。embark on their journey， 他们就踏上了这个旅程了。好，再来我们看到第4段的第1个句子，这是一个很特殊的句型，特别重要的句型，同学要看得懂。It wasn't until 后面的这个 that 请画起来。It wasn't until 和 that 请同学画起来。这里呢，其实是从我们 not until 这个句型所演变来的。只不过这个句型呢，我们把它称为分裂句，或者呢强调句。它要特别强调就是那个时间，到了1950年代才发生后面这件事情。才发生什么事啊？彩色电视机才出现，好，才推动电视科技再往前推进。好，那再来呢，请同学看到的是第二个句子，在后半部的这个部分 richness 前面有一个形容词叫 unprecedented， 很重要，请同学画起来，就是史无前例的，前所未有的。好，那再来呢，请同学看到第5段最后一个句子了 becoming an indispensable part of daily life， 这里所指的呢，当然就是电视咯。那电视呢，变成日常生活不可或缺的 indispensable， 那就是不可或缺，不能缺少，非常重要的日常生活的一部分。好，以上就是我们针对课程内容第1天课程所做的中文讲解。I'll see you next time.
All right, that brings us to the end of our program for today. It's kind of ironic that we're talking about TV using the medium of sound only or radio. But of course, you can get some more content about our program and our lessons from YouTube and from Facebook, and you can watch TV at the same time. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.